Hanukkah has its roots 2,200 years ago, whereby the Syrian Greeks occupied Israel, and instead of, as has happened so many times in Jewish history, instead of genocide against the Jews, they went for genocide against Judaism, in the sense that no killing of Jews, but Jews need to convert to Greek culture, essentially, and leave Judaism completely shelved. So there was a battle between a group of Jewish fighters against the Syrian army. The Jews won, but we also placed enormous emphasis, in fact more emphasis, on the spiritual aspect of that event, whereby a small container of oil, which ought to have lasted one day, lasted for all of 8 days in lighting the candelabrum in the temple. Like, for example, I imagine that if we were to fill our phone up or charge our phone with with sort of 10% full, and we use that phone for all of 8 days, and at the end of the 8 days, we still find that we have 10% left.
Levi, you mentioned the candelabra, and of course the menorah placed on the window, perhaps as a manifestation of faith. Yet we hear of Jews, because of the Middle East conflict, feeling unsafe in places like London. So how does the Jewish community feel in Gibraltar?
Mercifully, Gibraltar has always been a bubble, both a bubble and also a showcase. And I'm not saying that there isn't racism in Gibraltar, but I think the structure, the makeup of Gibraltar, whereby we deal with each other on a day-to-day, face-to-face. To me, face-to-face rapport is so important, because you come to see the other person as another human being, as opposed to a Jew, a Muslim, a Christian, or an atheist, or whatever. So we have precautions in Gibraltar, but we've had precautions in Gibraltar for a long time. For example, there's precautions outside the schools, which other schools, government schools, do not have. We are conscious, we are aware of the fear that there is, the anti-semitism that there is across the world, essentially. I mean, and in respect to the Middle East, it's not only a call for political rage against Israel, which I would dispute, but forget that completely. But when there are calls in Australia, America, and so forth about gassing Jews, you understand that the situation is serious. When there were calls in 2021, after a demonstration in London, to F women and rape Jewish girls outside Jewish homes in North London, you understand that the situation is very serious. So yes, there's a big hike in anti-Semitism worldwide. Gibraltar, mercifully, continues to be still in this bubble and may it last forever.
Hanukkah is, of course, the Feast of Light, as we've been saying. So let's end on a positive note and looking towards the future.
Hanukkah is the festival of lights, and we are commanded to look at the lights of the Hanukkah candle, of the Chanukiah, of the candelabrum at home, because we try to transmit light to the outside world. That's why we place the Hanukkah, the Hanukkah candelabrum by the windowsill for two reasons, really. The first one is to transmit that sense of light, and also as a sign of we're here, we believe in the people's right to believe. But I also think that in Gibraltar, where we live so close to each other, it's absolutely marvelous when I light my Hanukkah candle on my windowsill, and I look down and I see the Christmas lights. And there's a beautiful fusion of the spirit of Christmas and the spirit of Hanukkah. We look to advancing, enhancing a spiritual essence. I'm not referring to religious necessarily, but just a spiritual essence of conviviality, of love, of sharing, of helping each other as members of the wider community.